We are going to be talking about comedy as we are in the world-famous Laugh Factory. And to be serious about a comedy issue, do you think that comedy is taken seriously as a form of art, both in film as a genre and as an artistic medium in general?
I don't think it's taken seriously enough in film. I think there are tons of comedies that could have been nominated for awards or should have received better reviews, but were immediately dismissed because they're comedies.
I think that comedy people don't take as seriously as a form of art as, let's say, paintings, music, even dramatic films.
$2 I paid for a French movie, for a foreign movie, and now I gotta see this junk. What is that?
Because, they like to think of it as silly. Comedy has a lot of different layers, I think, like all forms of art. And especially when you talk about improvisational comedy, like the greatest thing about it is, and you covered this in your documentary, what was the name of it?
It was called Off the Cuff.
Off the Cuff.
Grandchildren of Chicago Improv.
It's a really good film.
I spent 2 years on it, but I interviewed different people in the Chicago improv scene, students and teachers, filmed a lot of shows to show all the different aspects of improv, what it does for people, because not everybody necessarily wants to, get into Second City or launch from IO to SNL.
It was not until I started studying improvisation in Chicago that I really felt like I found, this is what makes sense to me. This is the kind of work I want to do. I'm an improviser first.
Like you saw some of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, and Don't Think Twice. It's all about these people who are in a comedy scene. They go from this little improv group of their own, and then two of them kind of get launched into Weekend Live, which obviously is a copywritten,
Thinly veiled allusion to Saturday
very
Night
thinly
Live.
veiled.
So
Yeah.
thinly veiled.
Yeah.
Hey, we're auditioning on Thursday for Weekend Live.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
Jillian Jacobs' character, she was kind of the embodiment of why comedy is a form of art.
Improv's an art form unto itself. The most important thing is don't think. You don't think, you don't memorize.
You don't get paid.
So true, but isn't that kind of fun, too?
Then you have Michael Keegan's character, who basically sees it as a gladiatorial sport.
I like my life how it is right now.
You can't do improv forever, okay? It ends.
Why are films like this, which I believe was probably my favorite picture this year, not on the same level as perhaps a movie that's going to probably be some period piece starring Eddie Redmayne?
Oh, do you mean like in terms of like award recognition, not on the same level, or?
I think it kind of goes hand in hand between awards and films, and I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be great if a comedy did win Best Picture, which I'm sure some have throughout history, but not really like a ha-ha funny. And this one wasn't ha-ha funny. Obviously, we take it seriously because it was partially serious.
It had a lot of comedic moments, but it had a huge contrast of some very deep,
sad
dark,
moments.
very sad moments.
Yeah, when I see a movie like that, though, and it really is, in essence, a comedy film, it's not just a dramatic film, I don't think audiences will take it as seriously as whatever is going to be coming out in October. That's unfortunate, because I think comedy, you can't always explain what it is. And there's always different levels of it. There's a vast difference between something like a Judd Apatow movie compared to a Christopher Guest film. Complete different opposites. And every filmmaker has a certain viewpoints, I think, through comedy that they do with society, which is what filmmakers usually do. They express something about society through their films. I mean, Charlie Chaplin, for the best example I can think of, is when he made The Great Dictator, which was a movie where a Hitler type of guy was just a complete bozo, didn't know what he was doing, he was a mockery, and it's kind of relevant today, that movie. Movies like that's a comedy, still resonate because of their message. There's lots of comedians who have made films that are known not just for their laughs, but for what it's trying to say, and I think it's on the same level as something like a Schindler's List. I know they're completely incomparable.
Not comparable, really, but with something to say.
Yes.
Right?
The interesting thing that they said in your documentary that I thought really stood out was that when they said, okay, can you explain what improvisation is, improvisational comedy, nobody could word it.
A lot of people didn't believe it was an art form. Even Bernie Sahlins, who owned Second City, didn't believe it was an art form. And it took me a long time to convince the public, to convince the critics, that this is a worthy art form. And when you go out and do it shitty somewhere else, you're convincing the public that it's not worthy, and we still get people going, oh yeah, I've seen that, I don't want to see that anymore.
Because there's no way to really explain what it is, which I think any good work of art, whether it be some sort of abstract Picasso or like a David Lynch film that makes no sense, like you can't really explain it. You have to experience it.
Right.
And I think that makes it just as high of a level as anything. And what about like in terms of performance? We were talking about improv. You got so many actors who are probably dramatic actors who go, oh, I don't do that comedy stuff. It's silly.
I find that unfortunate. I think between dramatic acting and comedic acting is much harder.
Yeah.
Because when you study theater, you're
Yeah.
told to believe imaginary circumstances. And
Robin
so a lot
Williams could do drama. Olivier could not do comedy.
Exactly.
Because in comedy,
nail on the
you
head.
have to believe ridiculous circumstances. And
Yeah.
a lot of serious actors would be like, well, I could never believe such a ridiculous thing. Well, you believe imaginary things already.
Yeah.
They might be more realistic
Yeah.
in terms of like a movie about death of a spouse, like overcoming extreme oppression, but pretending something ridiculous
Yeah.
is not that far off.
Like an alien is living inside your house and he's your
Yeah.
best buddy and you go out and have drinks with him every weekend, you know?
Is that a toilet?
Yes, that is. The toilet is in the kitchen. Yes.
That takes a lot of commitment
Yeah.
to that bit.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that improv is just a branch of theater.
Yeah.
And theater is meant to make you feel something and have something to say with the work you're creating,
Yeah.
whether
That's
it's
where
funny
it
or
came
dramatic.
from, the Spolin games. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where all improv comes from.
Yeah. Not only improv, but stand-up comedy, written comedy. There's an exact science to it. And
You can't mess with that because then that ruins the joke.
yeah,
You can write long, sprawling, dramatic, moody movies, but you can't change the structure of a comedic movie.
I think maybe you can if you do it right. But
I'm
be
sure
experimental.
you could be experimental.
Yeah. But it would be very difficult. But I'd like to see someone do that challenge. You know?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree that you can't necessarily be experimental with it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of setting that up for someone to know what they're
Yeah.
about to see.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get the concept, I mean, Andy Kaufman is a great example of a comedian who would deliberately fuck with his audience. Can I say fuck on here?
I think you can use some of those words on TV. I'm not.
That's a perfect example of, a comedian for other comedians. But also,
Yeah.
you have to kind of be in on the joke. But I think he considered himself more of a,
I don't want to use the word, but like a stunt performer, because he'd always pull these
kind of.
Oh,
you
and
know.
literally stunt.
Yeah.
He did a lot of wrestling shows.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
literally a lot of stunts.
with Jerry Lawler. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
women's wrestling, yeah.
Whenever I play a role, no matter if it's a good or a bad, an evil person or a nice person, I believe in being a purist and going all the way with the role.
And that's kind of where, in terms of my own performance art, that's what I look at with improv or sketch comedy. Like, what stuff I don't see people doing?
Yeah.
What would be fun
Yeah.
for me to just see as an audience member, and then to do.
The star of the show today is our very special birthday Santa.
Because no one's done a YouTube show where a bunch of people talk about something.
Not like this. We're unique, I think.
Thank you very much.
I always say, above all else, I never talk shit about comedy directors. Like, even if I think that's not true. The guys who do like epic movie and shit like that, fuck those
Like
guys.
the Scary Movie and the
Those are the Wayans brothers, I believe. The guys who do epic movie, disaster movie,
those
date
ones, okay.
movie, those two blowhards.
Hi, I'm Jason Friedberg, and I'm Aaron Seltzer.
They give comedy a bad name.
You're welcome, America.
I think that's what audiences mostly associate it with.
They assume, though, that's what all
Yeah.
comedy films are.
Big, broad, and stupid.
Yeah.
When you can actually feel something,
Yeah.
get laughs, and
Yeah.
it makes you think. Have you feel something else? That's
Yeah.
what Don't Think Twice is, I think, achieved so well, balancing the two.
Yeah. And I give comedy directors so much credit because you have to keep people laughing for 90 minutes straight. That is the hardest category I think it is to direct, more than any other category.
It's a long time to sustain
Yeah.
that kind of rhythm. In a drama, you can have, the tension and release, but the comedy has to land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you miss and it falls, how do you drag the movie back up out of that?
Sedative?
Comedy, is it as serious of a form of art as everything else, and should we take it as seriously? Should we change our societal view of it? I kind of veered that question to what I want the answer to be, but whatever.
I think we should take the
It should be taken seriously.
work should be taken seriously. The artists themselves maybe shouldn't take themselves so seriously if they do. But I mean, there's a work ethic involved, and it's a craft, and it does take time to get better at it and to acquire certain skills. And
The same if you were a musician or a painter or a dancer.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Interpretive dance, for instance. I want to see a comedic interpretive dance.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah.